All right, guys, we're inside my 2019 Ford Transit 150 van, and this is a 148-inch wheelbase, so it's the non-extended, but is the longer one than the smaller version that they make. Like I said, it's obviously a low roof, and I'm going to take you through here, do a quick tour through all the components that I have in here. A couple things I like about them. I use this van to go hiking and camping, campgrounds, going to trailheads, and it is so fun. Everything in here has a purpose and makes it just really enjoyable to be outdoors. Bring all your food, have water, be able to wash your hands, make coffee. It's really great. So we're gonna go right to left here. The first thing we're gonna look at is this fridge. So this fridge is not a 12-volt fridge. It's a 120-volt fridge, or 110-volt, and it runs off of my inverter. I have a 2,000-watt pure sine wave inverter. We'll show you here in just a minute. But I went with this because, you know, you can go two ways. This one is really inexpensive. It was like 80 bucks. I got it at Best Buy. It does use a little bit more power than normal off the inverter, but as long as you have solar and a good way to recharge your batteries, it's a real cost-effective solution. And so inside here, what I've done is I just added a quick latch so the door wouldn't fly open when I'm driving. And you guys can kind of see, this is a little bit of the size that we have in here. One quick note, always make sure you have a temperature gauge inside your fridge, especially when you're doing the whole van life, because the setting on your fridge is typically not in degrees. It's just going to be like high, low, or 1 through 7 or something like that. So you need to make sure your food is being refrigerated properly. So I got that in there. I can kind of lock it up. And then if we go to the right-hand side, we have a 6-foot countertop. I got this countertop from Home Depot. Actually, no, I'm sorry. This one is from Lowe's. And it's kind of like a faux marble, just a laminate countertop. And I didn't even cut it. This is actually the full length, 6 feet, non-cut. Works out great. Looks nice. Comes with a nice backsplash here. And then above it, what I did is I installed, you can kind of call it the pantry. And so we got slam latches here. And I just made this, so this is to store coffee, coffee filters, food, any type of dry food or anything like that can go up here. You just got to be careful. When you put stuff up here, it gets really, really hot. So if you're in the whole mode of going camping, don't have to worry about it. Just don't leave stuff in there. But anyway, this is integrated into here. Works out really well. We have the cedar backsplash here. So this is cedar, tongue and groove. And we just got a little bit of, I think Danish oil is what I put on it. Coming from our inverter, we have our house outlet here with 2 USB ports. Something that's pretty cool, and I designed this whole thing around this, is I have an espresso machine that I bring with me when I go hiking. And this thing is custom designed to have that espresso machine in there. And so I'll insert some B-roll in there so you guys can kind of see the look. But I wanted to show you how nice and open this is. A lot of room for prep, space to prep food. This seat works out really well. And this is, I'd say, a classic, you know, van life, camper van layout. Over here on the left-hand side, we have a sink from IKEA, so stainless steel sink. And then I found this on Amazon. It's really cool. It's a battery-powered faucet. And what's nice about that is when you have a camper van, with the exception of this fridge in my setup, you want to make sure everything is either 12-volt or very power efficient. So this actually is a battery powered rechargeable faucet, and it'll technically last almost a whole month on one charge, so it's really efficient. And then below here is where I have my freshwater and gray water tank, fresh and gray, and each one is 7 gallons. And then on this right hand side, I put a closet rod inside here so I can also keep my like my puffy jacket and stuff like that for hiking. This is still a build in progress, even though it looks pretty complete here. I'll show you in the back that it still is a build in progress. But we have all of our connections here for to turn our inverter on. We have our battery monitor, and that's going to tell us, what the percentage is of our battery, which is fully charged right now. And then last but not least, we have our controller here for our diesel heater. And I'll show you that in just a second. My plan is that this whole entire controls, what's going to happen is I put in this soft close hinge, and all the display and battery monitors and stuff like that, they're all going to be lined up here nice and neat so that you can turn on the inverter, check everything out. And I like to have no light when I'm sleeping. So once this closes, all the lights are concealed in here, and you can have a nice rest. You don't have to worry about light. Speaking of light, we have our puck lights, which are all the way up here. And they are controlled by this dimmer switch down here at the bottom. So we can turn them off, we can turn them on. And it's a stepless dimmer switch, which means if we push our finger on it, we can dim it all the way down, and then turn it off, and then turn it back on. Before we move around to the seat in the back of the van, it's a pretty interesting look right here. You may notice it's not traditional cabinets. We have one traditional cabinet over here. This was actually purchased from Lowe's as well. And then it's just painted to match the toolbox. So this is a full Husky toolbox from Home Depot. And what's nice is you have humongous drawers. I've got this locked right now. But these drawers go the full depth, and basically keep all my kitchen stuff up here. Pots and pans go on this left side. Camera gear and equipment is on the right. And then these drawers are like my clothes that I bring with me when I go hiking. And again, the jackets are in here. Before we open this up to show you guys a little bit of the electronics, I put in a table. So this way, if I want to edit a video or just sit down, have some food, this is a good place to eat it. And this is actually a door from IKEA. So this is one of their clearance areas. You can just buy like really cool stuff like this. It's a stainless steel cabinet door. And then I got some hinges here, and then I just repurposed it as a table to be used for eating and stuff like that. So I think what we're going to do is take the camera off the tripod, and then that way we can get over here and get a little better look at the power system before we move to the rear of the van. All right, back in the van. This is the part where I was sitting, filming that part you just saw. And believe it or not, these two cushions were not custom made. I bought them at Lowe's. They are outdoor cushions for seating. And this top one, you'll pull off here. And this is actually just a backrest for a, outdoor chair. Actually, I think this is the seat cushion. And then what I did on the back is you can find iron-on Velcro, and then that attaches it here to the carpet so it doesn't move around. And then there's just one more spot at the top that ties into the three-way stretch fabric. Same thing goes for the bottom. This is just a long bench seat, and it just happens to be, when you fold it here, it is just, it's perfect. And yeah, sometimes you just find stuff like that, because I did not design this bench around this pad. But we take this off, and then you can see here, this is the beginning of kind of the brains of the van. As we open this lid up, you guys can look in here, and I might have to zoom in just a little bit. There you go. So on this side, we have our 2000 watt pure sine wave inverter. We have our main disconnect for our battery system that's over here. So if I tilt down, maybe you guys can get in there. Awesome. So this is an Ames 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. Not a lot of amp hours, but we've got 200 watts of solar on the roof. I'll show you here in just a little bit. But between this and just doing weekend trips, this allows me to make all the coffee I need. I'm not running the sink. The fridge pulls very little amperage. So this will give me 2 solid days with pretty good sunlight for a trip. So if I have really good sunlight and I'm on the road driving, I can probably stretch it to 3 days, 2 nights for making coffee and keeping food cold and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's the battery. Moving in, we got our disconnect right here. And then moving in a little bit deeper, we have our distribution block for our positive and negative side. And then so our positives go over here to our Blue Sea Systems fuse box. And all of these components are Blue Sea Systems. And then we have our main fuse. It's a mega fuse, and that is for our inverter. And some of you out there may be saying, you know, Nick, why are you pairing a 100 amp hour battery with a 2000 watt inverter? That's a good question. The main reason, the easy answer is for my espresso machine. It's simply that somehow the discharge rate on this battery doesn't time out before the BMS or the battery management system shuts it off, and it runs my espresso machine just fine. The espresso machine does pull 1700 watts while it's doing its thing, and it may be due to the fact that I have 2-aught wire going to the inverter. So this works. I got everything fused properly. If we move to the back, do you see this little vent? So we got one vent here, and then down here we got another vent, and that just allows ventilation for the inverter. Behind here, that will show maybe some B-roll later, this is the diesel heater. So this is just one that was bought off of Amazon. It's the cheap version. Some people call it parking heater, or a Chinese diesel heater, because extremely cheap. I mean, 140 bucks on Amazon, and they work great. I would never put in my professional bills just for, you know, durability, longevity, but they're so cheap that, I mean, this one's lasted me a whole entire year, no problems whatsoever. Works every single time. It's a 2 kilowatt version, so it's a little bit of the smaller one. They have a 2 and a 4. But works great. I mean, no complaints at all. So this is, like I said, the brains. As we go into the back, we're going to show you guys the air intake for the diesel heater. And then we'll also show you the exhaust port. So while we're at this angle, I'm going to show you this side of the panel. This is the light switch that you guys were looking at. It's touch. You can just, you know, it's a touch dimmer switch. You don't have to push it or click it in. Everybody needs a cup holder. That's a perfect location. And then this one is the vent for the heater. So you can turn it any different way you want to. So this is the exhaust from the diesel heater. And then while we're down here on the ground, let me go ahead and shut this. Let's talk a little bit about the floor before we go back to the rear of the van. So this floor that I have, this is it's called Smart Core floor. It's 100% waterproof, and it's got the integrated underlayment in it, or moisture barrier, whatever you want to call it. It works out really, really well. Something I did that was a little bit different from my other builds is, if you look down here, Let me get down here in the bottom. So the step up into the van was just really a useless space. And what I've done is this is where I keep some tie downs. It gives me access to my power cables that are coming from the battery that are going back and charging the that connect to the battery and the inverter. I've got my dog Nova's stuff. I've got this is a bag of jumper cables, but there's just a lot of storage here. So if you delete the step and you don't have the vehicle lifted, this is a great place to just store everything, because it's just a waste of space if it's not being used for storage. That's why a lot of people like to just build the van out to here and then make this like a shoe cubby. You see that often in van builds. One thing I like the most about it, and I see a bunch of my friends do when we go camping, is everybody just likes to sit here. It's just, everybody can sit here and hang out. So it's a good place to sit. It's right on the edge. And then everything is, nice upholstered. We have this aluminum step plate that is, that's right here. To finalize this, there will be a carpeted panel that's going to go around this whole entire thing. Then we're going to have like little oval inlets to go grab stuff. So that's how this will actually be finished off. Yeah, so now what we're going to do is head to the back of the van and show you guys where what our bed system is made out of, as well as the garage area. All right, we're at the back of the van, and I wanted to show you two things: the bed system, the garage, and then we're going to zoom in a little bit closer, show you the insulation on the side panels of the van, the ceiling fan, roof vent, and then the garage, and then the diesel heating system. Okay, let's start with the bed. So this platform here is large enough for a full-size mattress. Full-size memory foam mattress is what, when I'm not loading equipment and stuff like that in here, a full-size memory foam mattress goes in here and it fits perfectly. I didn't use flare spaces because that wasn't the point of this van, because on a Ford Transit you can sleep end to end just naturally in this van if you're around 6 feet or less. And so by adding the carpeting on the side and not actually building in insulation and stuff like that, I'm able to put that mattress in here. So everything was pretty much sized off that mattress layout. This is just like a little edge piece. This is actually a 2x4 underneath here. That's to kind of just hold the bed in, and then also give us a little bit of structural rigidity to the bed. We'll get you some detailed footage of this garage area, but down here in the garage area, if you guys can see, actually you can see it pretty good. We got a ton of space, and I use the space to store everything that I'm using during a camping trip. So if you can imagine, a bunch of firewood goes in here, my backpack, my dog's food, anything that I'm helping like friends bring. So a couple of my friends ride motorcycles, and then we do like a moto camp. So their gear will be in here as well, and then we'll follow each other to the campsite. And you got a ton of room. So I'm just gonna get in here. You guys can kind of see, I mean, there's a ton of room under here. It's almost the same size as, obviously what's above it, like a full bed. So the plan on here is to get this trimmed out. We have our air intake at the back for the diesel heater. And then over here on the right-hand side, we have the diesel tank. This is a 10-liter tank, and it's completely overkill. I filled this up maybe a quarter of the way, and it's lasted me a full year. So all throughout the winter. So diesel is extremely efficient. On the van builds that I'm currently building, that's all going to be a gasoline-fired heating system. So, but this one was just kind of you know, the way that I designed this van. Just kind of as you go, as you need certain components, you know, put them in. And so it was winter time, I was cold, and I put this diesel heater in. It's been working great. If we can talk about, let's see, check the framing here.
It'd be good to do B-roll too, because you're going to need that when you talked.
Yeah. I'm going to bring you guys in. Oh yeah, this is good. Perfect.
Especially showing the walls. I don't know if they're too dark.
Yeah. So let me...
You bring the light around?
Nah, that's good. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in here on the walls. Yeah, perfect. That's doing a really good job. So as you can look at the walls here, what I did is there's some cavities in here. So it's like 4 cavities. And then what I did is I took, there's this duck wrap, and it's like a metallic aluminum with, I'm trying to see, actually, there we go. Piece just kind of comes off the ceiling. So if you guys can see this, it's got metal foil on the outside, and then it has this like rubber membrane on the back side. Like it's almost like foam. It's a foam membrane. So it's foam, and then it is metal, like a radiant, I guess you can call it like a radiant barrier. It's to make pipes in attics not sweat, like AC pipes and stuff like that. And then there's an adhesive right here. So you guys can see it's kind of, it'll stick to my finger. So this adhesive is great because you can, the whole entire ceiling here, you can look. So the whole entire ceiling has that stuck on it, okay? And then underneath that, what I have, you can see it in this corner, just sticking out a little bit, I have rock wool. And rock wool, let's take a little bit of this. It's actually rocks that have been, rock fibers that have been shaved like super thin, and it creates a, like an insulation. So it's really, really cool. You guys can see that. It doesn't matter if it gets wet, it won't mold, anything like that. It is fire resistant, and does a really good job insulating the van. It's a great thing to use as opposed to like 3M or wool or something like that. The whole entire ceiling is tongue and groove cedar, so it smells great. Cedar is a natural insecticide. Maybe it's too strong of a word. It repels insects. Insects don't like cedar, like the oils in it. And then if we go up here, this is our Max fan. And this Max fan it's not the fully automated one. It's simple. It's got 4 speeds, on and off. That's it. It only exhausts, but it does have the integrated rain shield. So that makes it really easy to have it up when it's raining. And the way that I ventilate this van is I just have one vent fan here, and then I have the front windows cracked with a bug screen that I roll up into the windows. And that gives me my ventilation, cross ventilation for the whole entire van. Does an excellent job. This is let's see here, a little bit better view of the bed. You can see over here we got some rails that keep all the carpet nice and tied down. So this carpet is Super 77 3M spray adhesive is how everything is connected. And then we got the diesel heater. And then the last part that I'll show you guys, I'll take this off the tripod. I'm going to show you where, this is where the intake to the diesel heater is. So the fresh air. So what you want to do is you want to have the colder air from the garage being pulled into the diesel heater, and the diesel heater exhausts the dry air. And then that way you create a convection. So you have the air coming out through here, comes down around here, goes back underneath this, and it circulates, it creates a convection in the van to help circulate the heat and get rid of any moisture. So that does a Does a great job. Next, we are going to take the camera up here. You guys can see the max fan right there and our solar panels. So we're gonna put this on another tripod. I'm gonna get up here and talk about the roof. So that's what it looks like when it's fully extended. And see, what's nice is you don't have to have a rain shield or anything like that. So we got that for our ventilation. And then come over here. And just a simple electrical system. I mean, this is just 200 watts of solar panels from Renogy. And, you know, these keep the batteries all topped off. Last but not least, we have our roof rack. So this is a custom roof rack I built. And all these parts are at Lowe's. So this is called Unistrut. So if you're ever wondering what the stuff they use for like electrical boxes and warehouses to mount them, this is the same thing. What's nice is you can put these hooks and sliders. This is for my little awning tarp that I have. I can tie into it. And then if I wanted to add more solar panels or I wanted to load something on here, this thing is extremely strong. So this thing is completely bolted to the van. And it's not going anywhere. It's been like this for a year. It's doing great. I put these little bar pads or whatever you want to call them, surfboard bumpers. I did that because there's a little bit of a whistle, and then as soon as I put those on, it fixed the whole entire thing. Yeah, and so we're going to swing around to the driver's seat and show you the last part of this tour, and that is the electrical system coming from the battery. So that is the charge controller from the solar panel, for the solar panels, and also the battery leads that charge the battery. So let's go down there and check that out. Okay, so check this out. Back here behind the driver's seat, and this looks pretty complicated, but it's actually really simple. The reason it looks complicated is because I used to have a dedicated DC to DC charger over here, and this was not part of the system. So I've removed this system. I just went with a simple Pwm controller, and then I'm going to clean all this stuff up. But basically, this is all the connections that needed for the van. So you've got your breaker coming in from your alternator that charges your battery, and then we have a breaker that is going to our main battery. So one is our power coming out from the alternator, and then one is our battery disconnect, the line going to the battery. We got 6-gauge wire for that. Then right here is our negative terminal. We have our Pwm controller like I was talking about, and this thing is excellent. It's super cheap, and it also has the ability to obviously charge lithium iron phosphate, but it has a mode in there to where if the BMS of the battery cuts itself off, what this charge controller will do is it's able to send the appropriate amount of voltage to wake up the battery and get it going again. So that's pretty cool. So even if you kill the battery, which I've done 2 or 3 times, give it a couple days, the solar in this controller will automatically bring your battery back to 100% life. And there's just a little fuse for the solar as well. And then these are the leads that go up through the ceiling to the solar panels on the top. All right, guys, that's the end of the tour for my Ford Transit camper van. Nova and I here are going to sign off, and hope you guys enjoyed the video.